The neighborhood of Willow Creek had always prided itself on appearances. Manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, and houses painted only in HOA-approved colors gave the illusion of order and harmony. But beneath the surface, a storm had been brewing. For years, whispers circulated about the Homeowners Association operating less like a community board and more like a private mafia. Residents complained of endless fines, sudden inspections, and selective enforcement of rules. But nothing could ever be proven. The HOA president, Geraldine Sloan, ran the board with a ruthless iron grip. She maintained her control with a smile that never reached her eyes, and a stack of bylaws she twisted to her own advantage. And then, one morning, everything changed. A manila envelope appeared in the mailbox of Thomas Reed, a middle-aged homeowner already on edge after months of inexplicable fines. Inside there was no note, only photocopied pages, pages that revealed something shocking. It was a blacklist. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Priority Enforcement." Below was a column of names, homeowners marked with stars, circles, and comments like "target for removal," "non-compliant troublemaker," and "increase fines." Next to each name was a list of fabricated or exaggerated violations, as if the HOA had pre-planned a strategy of harassment. Thomas flipped through the pages in disbelief. There were 20 names in total, nearly a fifth of the entire neighborhood. And he recognized them all. The widow who'd refused to repaint her shutters, the single father who parked his work truck in his driveway, the family that left toys in their front yard. Ordinary neighbors, targeted for destruction. Thomas realized this wasn't incompetence or overreach. It was a system, a machine of intimidation designed to force certain people out of the neighborhood. And worse, it was organized, deliberate, and carefully hidden. That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. The papers haunted him. He wondered how many had already lost their homes because of this list, how many were drowning under fines that were never meant to be fair. It was a game, and the HOA was playing for keeps. Thomas knew he couldn't keep this to himself. He had to expose it. But doing so meant declaring war against the most powerful force in Willow Creek. As he sat in silence, the weight of the envelope heavy in his hands, Thomas made a choice. He would show the list to the others. He would bring them together, and together they would fight back. But what he didn't realize was that in exposing the list, he would ignite the most explosive neighborhood war Willow Creek had ever seen.
Thomas began discreetly reaching out to the names on the blacklist. At first, it was difficult. Many residents lived in fear of the HOA, conditioned to keep quiet and comply. Some believed resistance would only bring harsher punishment. But as Thomas revealed the contents of the list, fear turned into outrage. One by one, the targeted homeowners realized they had been played. Every fine, every violation notice, every threatening letter was not random. It was part of a coordinated effort to push them out. And they were not alone. There were others like them, each carrying the same scars of humiliation and financial strain. The group began meeting secretly in basements and garages. They shared stories, compared letters, and laid out the evidence. The widow recounted the day she returned from the hospital to find a notice demanding thousands of dollars in landscaping violations. The single father revealed that he had been fined more than 5 times the actual HOA dues in a single year. Others showed photos of their homes, perfectly within regulations, yet marked as unsightly or out of compliance. The more they uncovered, the clearer the picture became. The HOA was systematically weeding out anyone who didn't fit Geraldine Sloan's image of the perfect neighborhood. Those who didn't have wealth, those who didn't bow to her authority, those who dared to question her decisions, they were all on the list, and the consequences were devastating. Families had been forced to sell their homes at a loss, others had their properties foreclosed, and some simply packed up and left, broken by the constant harassment. Geraldine's allies would then swoop in, buying the homes cheaply, flipping them for profit, and solidifying her control. This wasn't neighborhood management. This was organized exploitation. But now the victims were no longer isolated. United by anger and a common enemy, they began to see themselves not as helpless targets, but as a resistance. They didn't yet know how to fight back, but they knew the first step was exposing the truth. The group's first plan was to gather undeniable evidence. The leaked blacklist wasn't enough on its own. Geraldine could claim it was fake. They needed records, bank statements, board meeting minutes, anything that tied her and her allies to the scheme. Daniel, a young tech-savvy homeowner, began digging into public records. He uncovered property transfers suspiciously linked to Geraldine's relatives. Homes that had been foreclosed for unpaid dues were sold at rock-bottom prices, only to be renovated and sold at a massive profit. The pattern was undeniable. Meanwhile, Thomas installed hidden cameras near the HOA office shed. What they captured was even more damning. Late at night, board members meeting in secret, shredding documents, carrying boxes of files into their cars. It was clear they were hiding something. The resistance collected everything: photos, receipts, bank filings, even audio recordings from open meetings where Geraldine made veiled threats. Slowly, the pile of evidence grew into a mountain of corruption. But the HOA wasn't blind. Geraldine noticed the sudden change in behavior among her targets. They were no longer submissive, no longer afraid. Letters of appeal arrived in bulk, violations were contested aggressively, and whispers spread through the community. She knew something was brewing. So she struck first. One morning, the entire group received certified letters at once. Each was accused of severe violations, each threatened with immediate legal action, and each was warned that foreclosure proceedings could begin within 30 days. It was a coordinated attack, a warning shot. But instead of breaking them, it hardened their resolve. They realized there was no going back. The HOA